Are you guys ready for some winners finals with Splatoon 3 at Big House? I can't hear you. I can't hear you. Can we get one more rile up? There we go. Let's get it, Zach.
I can't say there are many surprises here with the composition. We are indeed going to see Ice versus .Q on the Charger matchup. Both of them have opted to go with the E-Leader and the non-scoped variant, which I believe is going to give them that wave breaker to help spot out the opponents, and lots of shooters outside of that. We have a 3v3 situation, as it will be the Machine, and I believe the Splash-O-Matic going down first. Both teams also bringing the Splatter Shot, which really provides that heat and offense.
Splatter Shot's seeing a lot of popularity in recent memory just because it has a lot of ink, as well as being able to just be like a jack-of-all-trades weapon. Can do offense or anchor, whatever you want to do. Have another Splat right there on top of it. Looks like we got Sayonara trying to paint as much as possible. Gets another Splat on top of there. Another anchor coming in. Charger throwing out the special. The wave beam coming in. Has to push back because of the Booyah Bomb, throwing one of themselves right back into the center.
And I think it's pretty easy to tell which specials are the most popular right now. We've seen just about 3 Booyah Bombs get fired in the last 15 to 20 seconds, but don't count that wave breaker out either. The wave that it actually emits not only marks your opponent if it hits them, but does 45 damage, almost enough to do half their health, as we see Starburst taking the lead after an early Sayonara push.
It looks like Sayonara is trying to mount this offensive strike here momentarily. You're going to notice that Jared's trying to go in through the corner, trying to throw out some bombs. Where they go for it. Here comes the initial push, throwing in the Booyah Bomb, trying to force himself a way to play a little bit more aggressive. But we had someone sharking down there, being able to get 2-for-1 trades over from Starburst. Big pickup's going to be able to kind of stuff that offensive approach as Sayonara is trying to get right back in there. Uh-oh, Super Jump going to get caught with their not looking. Another one on top of that. Ice and Biscuit are both down, and they are going to be able to take control. Sayonara finally takes that zone right back from Starburst.
The E-Leader is the longest charging weapon of all the Chargers, so you really have to either choose to back off or commit to the shot, and Ice choosing to commit there, it may have cost him his life in that situation and the life of the person who jumped to him as well. Able to get the zone back is Starburst, but they're really being pressured here. That's part of the beauty of the juniors, that it builds up this bubble so quickly, and we see its slaying power as well, as Zero is also going to fall.
Yeah, if the RNG's in your favor, you really get something on that. We got another Splat here on Brand. Zero's going to be able to jump right back there and on top of them. Getting another shot, pushing Bagel away from them. Sayonara is holding onto the zone for as long as possible. They're still in control with very little penalty points to boot on top of that, but that's not all they're done for. Starburst coming right back in, throwing some sub-weapons, trying to get that zone right back from their opponents.
Yeah, we mentioned before going into this about penalty points. They're down to 38, but Starburst has 43 points to chew through, and that's even with getting the zone back in the first place. Now we're seeing the Trizuka v Trizuka battle, neither really gaining any ground off of that. In fact, one of them goes down, and it's going to be on the side of Starburst. Now they lose Ice as well. It's going to be essentially a 2-down situation. The last couple of members are trying to get these two on left. Zero will fall, but it's just the Splatter Shot remaining, and all the while, they were somehow able to get the zone back and all of that.
Yeah, Biscuit getting a lot of picks there at the end. Jared finally stopping that rush as they're going to try to get back here in the middle of the zone. Starburst still in control of that middle zone and dominating the scoreboard right now. Look how yellow it is. They have so much control of this map, while Sayonara is just trying to regroup right now. A couple of stagger splats coming in. Sun's going to go for a Booyah Bomb. Jared's going to try to follow up on top of that with the Crab Tank. He's going to come right back in here and try to get some shots. It's really hard to deal with the Crab Tank from the forward. You have to go from behind, just like that bomb toss. That was a very smart bomb toss coming in, not enough to get the Splat on top of that. Gets the Brand pick, being able to force this to lose control, but Sayonara just can't get that zone just yet. Look at this offense. Biscuit trying to do as much as he can to get that Splat.
Man, you notice the tech that they have to do with the Crab if there's a bomb or any sort of special incoming. They have to duck, dodge, dip, dive, and dodge, but they built up yet another Crab. It's too late, however. It does provide a decent amount of painting there, but when you pop it with about 7 left on the clock, there's not much time to contend with, and with that, it is going to be Starburst holding on in a decently close Game 1.
That was, you know, you say it was decently close, but from my eyes, I felt like that was almost like a closeout near the end, just only because Starburst had such control of that zone in the very beginning. They dominated the first fight, which was a very important fight in Splat zones, and then as they continued to hold on to it all the way down to like 38 points before finally Sayonara took the zone back from them, and they had control for a little bit, but then Starburst came right back and took the zone immediately and brought it all the way down to 0. I feel like their defense was on point.
Yeah, you can equate it sort of to the tides of the ocean. You sort of don't really realize you're being pulled out as far as you are until it's too late, and then it's so difficult to get back into the swing of things, and that's exactly what happened here. Sayonara, taking the zone back from Starburst, had a pretty consistent little push there and was gaining a substantial amount of ground. We noticed that 3-down situation against Starburst where it was just the Splatter Shot remaining, but even still, that distraction of trying to find the last player allowed the players that were coming back on this relatively small map to do the hard job of painting the zone and making sure that it stays painted, and had that structure in the middle of the zone as cover on top of everything. So really nice play there to call that out and call out that 2 or 3 members of Sayonara were distracted enough to give them the zone back, and ultimately that ended up winning them the game.
I felt like Ice did a fantastic job of just hunkering down and staying alive, because anytime that Sayonara finally got in a successful push, you'll notice that Ice tried to stay alive as long as possible or managed to escape for people to super jump to later on so that they can get back into the fray as quick as possible, because when Sayonara took that zone, they did not have that for long. The Starburst rallied up really fast, and I feel like that was a testament to how well you can try to gather together, because there's so much things that can kind of displace you, especially if you stagger your kills a little bit. You know, like if you get 3 splats and you kind of wait for that 4th one, that causes the respawn of the 4th one to wait before you're all regrouped and together again. And while you're trying to regroup, the enemy team's pushing onto your home turf and trying to paint it out, and it might become a little bit more tough depending on what the skill levels are going to be. But now we're going to jump into game number 2. Sayonara does have the counter pick for this map, and I'm kind of curious what they think they're going to go for.
Well, the 3 maps, to my knowledge, that they have to choose from or eliminate in this case are going to be Mako Mart, Mincemeat Metalworks, and Hammerhead Bridge. Of course, Hammerhead being a returning Splatoon 1 map that has undergone quite a substantial number of changes. The actual grading, the bridge, for those of you who remember Splatoon 1, is completely gone. So now you just have this sort of very vertical, wide open area. And you talked about chargers. It was interesting seeing Eagleater, which is, of course, that longest range charger on a pretty small map like Inkblot, and mostly I think that's for the Wave Breaker over the Ink Vac on something like Splat Zones. But if they want to pick that again and go with Hammerhead, that really is going to provide them that additional offense. However, on the side of the Splat Charger and the Splatter Scope, you get the Ink Vac, and the Ink Vac, along with other specials like the Big Bubbler, can be instrumental in maintaining a push, especially when you get to those checkpoints.
I think at the beginning of Splat 3, people weren't really thinking about the Big Bubbler as much. I think all eyes were on Tacticooler, especially with like looking at the NZAP, people saying, okay, all juniors quit junior, play NZAP, that's the move. That was like day 1 impressions, day -12 impressions, right? With the Splatfest. But as time has moved on, we've started to realize that, wait, Bubbler is actually really, really good, because if you put that down, that part of the zone is not being painted. Not only are you protecting yourselves, but you're making sure that zone's not painted, especially on something like tower control where you can put it on the tower. That's a free push. Like, what are they going to do? Play aggressive, climb the tower, and try to fight you? Which is what they have to do, and that's very, like, scary to do.
And you think about some of the other weapons that have Big Bubbler on their kit. You have the base, the Vanilla Blaster. It doesn't paint very well at all, and the range of it is not great either. The Splat Roller also has it. Not going to be available. Looks like, though, we are going to head over to Mako Mart as our tower control map for game number 2. Let's see what the changes are in the compositions that they brought.
We got 2 sloshing machines over for Sayonara. No surprises here. If you guys watched Area Cup at all a couple weeks ago, we saw a lot of teams rocking the double sloshing machine. It's just a very powerful weapon, has tons of range, has Inkjet on top of it to be able to just do a lot of special action. So we're going to see how it's going to be able to switch it up slightly here for Sayonara. They can try to get some work going here. So for right now, you're not going to notice they're not going to go immediately for the tower. They want to try to fight first. They want to try to get those splats. There's a trade right there, 1-2. Sayonara has a slight lead in terms of numbers advantage. They can get one more pick. They can go for a power push safely. Good escape. I like that. Just give up the objective, let yourself regroup, and get back into it. This is what I was talking about from Ice.
For Starburst picking the 2 sloshing machines, I noticed that both of them also went with Ninja Squid, which has been a very popular ability in Splatoon 3, which has only a little bit of penalty in terms of movement and gives it the ability to swim through ink without being noticed or having ripples. But if you don't have the ink to maneuver through, that ability becomes much more useless. So you have to be very, very careful and make sure the rest of your team composition does great at painting.
That was a fantastic pick by Zero, by the way. Managed to get that flank. Now has the Trizuka coming out to try to get some more picks, as well as painting on top of that. Booyah Bomb coming out from Suns. They're going to continue to push this tower as much as possible. Gets a spot from Biscuit. Biscuit going for a potential flank here. Managed to stop that push in its track before he can even reach the second checkpoint. And that tower's going to start going back to the center. And now we see Starburst a little bit of control.
Man, so satisfying to be on that side of it, but unsatisfying if you're trying to jump out and get splatted right before you're able to make it back to base. Of course, they're doing that to try and retain as many special points as they can, because when you go down, you lose such a large percentage of that special. Now we see the Booyah Bomb coming out on the side of Starburst. It doesn't look like it's going to get anybody, and Bagel gets taken out by a cheeky flank from the 52. However, they don't have enough time to set up the wall. Brand's able to take them out, and now it's going to be 2v2. The last one remaining actually being the Charger for Sayonara, so now it might be Starburst's time to shine.
Yeah, but here they come. This is what I was talking about previously. Super jump in and try to regroup as fast as possible. Starburst is so good at regrouping because of this. He's always hunkering down, puts up there, has the ink vac on both sides. No one's getting any ink whatsoever because of that.
Man, you see the Booyah Bomb coming out, smartly placed sort of below their feet so it didn't interact with the ink vac, but also you're sort of directing that attention away from the objective now. That's going to be 2 down on both sides of things. It's just 2 machines versus the Charger, actually. So once again, .Q being the last one remaining for Sayonara, and will we see a similar situation here? Have they learned from their mistakes to not allow them to get back and to take up that room? That Booyah Bomb coming out, again, not going to find anybody, but it looks like finally control of mid belongs to Starburst.
It's okay they didn't find anyone because what it did is it displaced the Charger, but forced them to move backwards. They push the tower past that first checkpoint, maybe the second checkpoint. So here we go. Tons of Booyah Bombs being thrown out. Jared trying to push it back towards the center of the stage. They don't have to ride it all the way to the center. They just have to tap it once before it goes back to center, so they can try to move all around the base. But all of a sudden, 2 people are down. There's the Whaler, 3 people going all the way here. Sayonara trying to get this mount this back, this offensive as Starburst continues to push this tower bit by bit. They are 2 points away from taking away this lead. It's all about this. That's a big pick there. Trying to get that on Sun as they're going to get right back on the tower. Stop that push in its tracks, and now we're going to keep it at a 50-49, trying to stay alive, and that's going to be Jared going down. They couldn't push it 2 more inches.
It takes so much patience to not just immediately scamper onto that tower and try to get the rest of that lead, but they decided to get back and try to take out the Charger, which may have cost them the lead, as we see a cheeky little snipe there from .Q onto Bran. And now, again, with just a minute and a half left, I'm not sure if that was the right play or if they'll get another chance to make that push.
Dude, .Q with these picks looking very strong right now. Starburst is going to try to go right back for this tower push. All players are up and abouts right now. 2 specials on Sayonara's side. They're definitely going to be mounting an offensive push here momentarily with the Booyah Bomb. Here it comes, throwing it right there, right on top of the ink vac. And unfortunately, it's going to be able to go right back there on the tower, try to help them push a bit as they're going to go for this defensive push. See Zero trying to find their way back in there. There's the Charger. There's the offensive. They got rid of the anchor. This is going to be really huge for Sayonara. They can just try to stop this push as much as possible. There's another pick right there on Brand. Unfortunately, Zero's finally going to get stopped in its tracks as Starburst is going to continue to get this push. It's all about trying to get this Charger. Charger going back down on there, playing an offensive there until .Q could finally stop that push and bring it back to center, but it might be a little bit too late. There's only 45 seconds left here on the clock. Sayonara has got to get this moving as much as possible, Zach.
And it's going to be tough. Sayonara committed 3 specials at the same time, while Bagel was over on the left-hand side farming up their big bubbler when they got to that checkpoint. And I think that's what's allowed them to actually get the lead here. They used 3 of the specials, the Booyah Bomb and the ink vac especially, right on top of the tower, and they didn't have it to take down that big bubbler. So we'll have to see if Bagel can do the same thing. It looks like there's 2 specials, including the ink vac, back on the side of Sayonara, so they may have a shot to push forward for the lead.
This is the best opportunity they can have right now. You go away from those bombs. Howes goes for the ink vac. This is going to brute force this push. They can't really do anything besides throw this Booyah Bomb right on the tower. Now, wait a little bit away from the tower. They're going to be able to stay alive. Unfortunately, gets into 42 points. I think they just push it 4 more times. They can be able to get this ending. There's no one left alive. They just jump right back out. They're a wipeout, and Starburst takes map number 2.
And Sayonara didn't have much of a choice there. They had to sort of really scramble to get as much as they could. They used the ink vac in, I think, the right spot, but the Booyah Bomb was meticulously placed just in front of it to where it didn't take in the actual impact point of the special, which allowed them to take some damage and ultimately fall, leading to the 2 and then 3 and finally the full wipe. All Starburst has to do is jump on the tower at that time, and that is it. So Starburst living up to the hype right now of the dominance that they present, even in front of a full like Sayonara.
They were dominating in Splatoon 2, and it looks like they're dominating right now in Splatoon 3. Granted, that was a really close game. If they had a little bit more time and one more push on top of that, things could have spelled out different. But I loved how particular they were with making sure to mount that defense to get them, like you said, with the Booyah Bomb, placing it right in front of the tower instead of on the tower so it doesn't get absorbed. But we're going to see how game number 3 is going to have to play out, because now if Sayonara wants to stay alive in winner's side, they have to win 3 maps in a row against one of the best teams in Splatoon NA.
And I gotta tell you, Scorched Gorge is gonna be a tough map to do it on. For full disclosure, it looks like the options in total were Sturgeon Shipyard, Hagglefish, and Scorched Gorge, and ultimately that's what was selected by process of elimination. But with Rainmaker, the pace of play is so fast, even with the added extra checkpoint that Splatoon 3 brought to the game. That's the only real reprieve these teams are going to have. Thankfully for both teams, it provides great outlooks for Chargers, not only on the overlook, but also with a long grading and a very highly raised middle platform that you and your teammates with specials like Trizuka can use to your advantage to try and take out some of your enemy team's members in spawn.
We're going to see how this is going to start off. We just heard the ding of the bell, so game number 3 coming up. Sayonara one map away from taking this entire set and moving on into a very comfy position here in Grand Finals. Got a little bit of a weapon switch up here. It looks like we got some dually squelchers going on.
So the dually squelchers are going to provide you with that midline presence that they may not have felt that they had before. I know that a lot of other teams have run 52 on this map, but they may not feel comfortable on it. And the dually squelchers does, of course, as you see at the top left there, provide you with tons of mobility. And you do have enough range with it if you dash to get into the face of the charger, which I think is part of their plan.
Being able to get into that's, like I said, I was mentioning this in the past couple of games where, like, literally just having that anchor in the background, just staying alive, very important. They're going to try to fight off against each other to try to get this Rainmaker. Those that don't know how Rainmaker works, it's all about trying to get that goldfish there in the middle as far as possible towards the end, but they don't want to make this push until they have a little bit of a numbers advantage. So it looks like they're just going to go for it. Starburst already has the Rainmaker, trying to push it as far as possible. There's an ink vac in place. That's going to be a huge pick coming up as they're going to get this free checkpoint, breaking it right through.
Not only that, but we see the wipeout, and that was a brilliant play from the members of Sayonara. Starburst was hoping to take out a member that was jumping in by placing a suction bomb right at the correct time as we see Biscuit don't go down to the Trizuka, but the ink vac actually sucked up the suction bomb's impact, allowing that player to stay alive, which I don't think Starburst expected. Now they just need a point to get the lead here as we see a pick on a brand from .Q. Sun is going to be the Rainmaker carrier, and they're just trying to get these suction bombs out of the way and continue painting as well as they can in order to make that push, but it's a little bit too late.
There's no way they can make that push when they're coming right out on them. They're going to get 2v1 right now as that push is going to be stopped in its tracks. So now it's on Starburst's side to try to get past this point. But honestly, with only 56 points remaining to beat, it's not going to be too tough in order to get it past that far. So this is going to be a big tug of war right now. Going through that bomb as a retreating thing. Super jump coming in. Going to be able to survive as Zero is going to get splatted upon that landing. Going to break open this bubble, pick up that Rainmaker. Just not right now because we've got some enemies on there. Got the Trizuka, gets caught out, immediately trying to bust it out by a very good snipe coming out from Sayonara.
And this is a pretty common tactic that players are doing, especially if they have a projectile special. They'll pull it out and then immediately hide in the ink to try and hide the fact that they're starting to use their special. We saw that earlier from some teams that used Ultra Stamp and use it as a projectile. But now, the Wave Breaker coming out, that's going to allow, hopefully for Sayonara, some members of Starburst to be both hit with damage and to be marked. The Booyah Bomb coming out on the opposite side of things. They're going to have to run away from that, and it's not going to find anybody. However, they have found one pick on the splatter shot. Jared on these dualies trying to get around is able to take down Ice, who was also marked by that tactical, or as you mentioned, high risk, high reward.
Yeah, getting rid of Ice is a big deal, but unfortunately it's going to give Starburst an ample opportunity to be able to make this huge push right now. 32 points remaining. They were able to take that all the way downtown. Now the push, the onus is on Sayonara. Try to bring this back. They're going to try to win some battles, try to make that bubble go down a little bit before trying to get back out, but it gets called out by yet another charger. And now we're going to see how it's going to be able to play out. Inkvac is ready to go here for .Q if he's going to be able to try to find this slight opening before trying to get in there. Waits for it, using the right flank, using the right peekaroo. Right around there comes the Booyah Bomb, trying to find the push.
Yeah, .Q, and I think both of these chargers really having to play a bit differently. They're not able to hide on some platform as much as they could. They're really having to push up and be in the action, and .Q in that pass play did such a good job of not being afraid and actually getting a pick by helping to bother the Rainmaker shielding up with their team's ink. However, they had a Booyah Bomb at their disposal, but Starburst is going to lose it. It's going to be 2 now, 3 down on the side of Sayonara and 2 down on the side of Starburst, and they've elected to proceed anyway since they have the slight man advantage. Not able to get the pick on that one is the Rainmaker carrier, but they're trying to push forward and get .Q, which they did a fantastic job of being backed up by Ice on that ink back.
They're not in too big of a hurry to try and make this push, right? The goal right now is to try to stay alive, but that thing's about to blow up because if you hold on to the Rainmaker for too long, it's eventually just going to blow up right in your face. But that was okay. You know, they had a little bit of an opportunity there to just try to play keep away, preventing Sayonara from going for a push of themselves. Get through that Booyah Bomb before picking it up. You want to get rid of your special before you do that. Very smart stuff coming out here. Jared's going to jump in right here to try to get some support here for Sun. We're going to have to wait and see how this is going to play out. We got some dualies coming in, doing some rolling right here. There comes another Booyah Bomb. Can't get the pick, unfortunately, but that Booyah Bomb is going to close out everything right there for Sayonara. And now you're going to stop the push in its tracks, break open that bubble, and try to retreat it back. But wait, hold on a second.
It's not quite over yet. Jared and .Q once again still hanging around, and they have the paint to be able to make a push. They get down to 38. They've lost 2 members, but again, Jared and .Q are the last ones alive. Sun going down there. The Rainmaker pop is actually going to go to Starburst in this case, and right now it's just the splatter shot holding things down as well and dodging the shots from the Wave Breaker. They have the Trizuka at the ready as well, as we're down to the last 20 seconds, and it's still hanging around in the Starburst Splat area.
Oh, they had such an prime opportunity to be able to do that, but that Trizuka is going to stop all that approach in its tracks. If that was the way to win the game, that was going to be it, but now Starburst is just being able to stop this all yellow ink all over the place. Sayonara cannot regroup to try to pick up that Rainmaker. Starburst is going to pick it up themselves and just try to stay alive as long as possible. They only stay alive for 3 more seconds, and right now, Starburst is your winners finals winners, and they're going to move on into grand finals. Sayonara.
That was a spectacular showing there from Starburst against Sayonara, and it was not easy, especially in that last game. You saw the way that these teams had to really think about, okay, we have weapons that we know we're confident with and that we know are meta, but they're having to try and adapt to the changes in the topography of the map, and that can change if you're newer to the game depending on what mode you're playing. And for Rainmaker, it becomes a lot easier to access the middle area, and you get a lot more turf to actually paint, and that's what happened. Starburst showing that they really have a strong shot to take this one and avoid a bracket reset. Sayonara now moving down to losers, hoping to make it themselves.